You are live and good to go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the next in our series of Facebook Live and Zoom presentations. My name is Leslie Albritton. I'm the project coordinator and one of the managing attorneys for Legal Aid of North Carolina's Disaster Relief Project. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about estate planning for rainy weather. And what that means is I'm going to discuss with you very briefly why having certain documents is so important to your planning for and recovery from a natural disaster like a hurricane or even like COVID-19, which we're experiencing right now. And we are getting ready to go into hurricane season the beginning of next week. So this is hopefully timely information that everybody can use. A couple of real quick sort of housekeeping things before we get started. And this is a pretty brief presentation, but please, if you want to ask questions, you're welcome to type those questions in the chat box. One of our team members is monitoring that chat and will be able to help get answers to your questions. And we'll continue to monitor that chat for several days after the presentation, so you can keep typing in questions there and we'll do our best to answer them. But please do ask general questions, not questions that are specific to your personal situation. We don't want to give specific legal advice on a format like Facebook or Zoom and without you being a client. If you need more specific advice, please feel free to call our 800 number or to apply for help online. And the rest of the slides all include that number and that online application so that you can write that down. We'll also post that in the chat for you so you'll know how to get a hold of us. So please feel free to call us if you need assistance. We encourage you to do that. There's also a survey that we're going to post in the chat box. And we would really like your help in filling that survey out. It helps us to get better every time we do these presentations. If you have ideas about disaster relief topics that you want to hear about, whether it's recovery or resiliency or just general information about natural disasters, please let us know in that survey as well, and we'll try to cover it in future presentations. And then finally, this presentation is not intended to be a deep dive into estate planning. So it's really going to cover very broadly why these different types of documents are important in the context of recovery from a natural disaster. However, we do have a presentation from Legal Aid that does a really good job going deeper into estate planning. And that was presented about a week ago, maybe a little less, by Meredith Gregory, who is a supervising attorney with our senior law project. We're going to post a link to her presentation in the chat box as well. So if you want more information, please watch her presentation. That'll help you. So I've broken this presentation up into three parts: before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. So everybody, I think, knows, if you have any familiarity with disaster recovery, that loss of estate documents and documents generally can be a real barrier to folks' recovery. So in order to prevent being in that situation, there are things you can do before a storm or other natural disaster hits in order to get better prepared and make sure that your recovery goes more smoothly. The first of those is place original documents in a safe, fire and waterproof location that is portable. So that means if you have a copy of your will or a power of attorney or a healthcare power of attorney that's sitting in a drawer in a file somewhere, if you know that a storm is coming and it's likely to impact your area, you should get yourself a waterproof, fireproof lockbox that you can carry with you and put all your important documents, including your estate documents, there so that you can take it with you if you have to evacuate. And that's our next point. Be sure that you can grab and go when you have to evacuate suddenly so that you can keep those important papers with you and reference them when you go to apply for any kind of recovery help and support, whether it's FEMA benefits or long-term recovery benefits like Rebuild NC. You should also tell your family or a trusted family member where they can find your documents and possibly consider providing copies of those documents to them. And that's a good rule of thumb, even when you're not in the midst of a natural disaster. If you've taken the time to make a will or a power of attorney or a healthcare power of attorney for yourself, you should be sure that the people who are going to need to access those documents know where they are and have copies of them that you've discussed with them. And finally, because lots of unforeseen things can happen in a natural disaster, and we are fortunate to live in a digital age, even when sometimes we know technology doesn't work as well as it should, which has been my day today. You should consider uploading the executed copies of your important documents to a secure location in the cloud or someplace where you can access them online, even if you don't have access to the physical copies. Or if an attorney has helped you make those documents, ask your attorney to keep a copy of them someplace safe, and they should have copies on file. And it's important to note that some types of documents actually get registered with the Register of Deeds in your county, or in the case of healthcare documents, your medical providers may have a copy that you can, and you may be able to go to those places as resources to get another copy of anything that you've lost in a storm. Now, ask yourself whether or not you have an estate plan that's written down. And if not, now is the time to make one. And people often ask, who needs an estate plan? And the answer is really just about everybody. Whether you're a young person who has children and needs to make a plan for your children, if you should pass away or something unexpected should happen, or if you're somebody who's maybe in your 60s and 70s, otherwise in good health, and you feel like you don't have a lot of property to pass along, you should still have an estate plan. It makes everything easier for people who survive you. And this is a picture, just so everybody knows, of Hurricane Florence, just because we all know we're still recovering from that storm. So I wanted to find a photo of Florence. Now, what to do during the storm? During the storm is not the time to be running through your house looking for documents that you forgot to gather. We all know that life is more important than property, and that includes your estate planning documents. So it's really too late when you're in the process of evacuating to gather up those important documents. Just keep yourself safe and worry about those things after the storm passes. So after the storm, keep in mind, it's not too late to make a plan. Recovery from natural disasters takes a long time. There are plenty of people in Eastern North Carolina who are still recovering from Hurricane Matthew, which occurred in 2016, and from Hurricane Florence. Here's how, and you never know what's going to happen while you're in the process of trying to rebuild your home. So it's important, if you own a home, to protect your assets and to make sure that your wishes for having your home repaired are carried out by taking some time to prepare important documents now, so that it provides a smooth transition if you should pass away or become incapacitated during the recovery process. So how can our project help you now? We can make simple last wills and testaments. And if your estate is something that's too complicated for us to handle, we can help you find a private fee-generating attorney to assist you. We can make durable, or what are called limited powers of attorney. So in other words, we can make a power of attorney that encompasses all aspects of what should happen and who should act on your behalf if you might become mentally or physically incapacitated. Or we can make a limited power of attorney, which just covers things like access to recovery funds for you, depending on what your needs are. And these two documents are important. The powers of attorney are important because you want to be able to have somebody who can act on your behalf should something happen to you during your lifetime while you're still trying to recover. And then we can also assist you with healthcare powers of attorney, just as a little added document that can help provide for you should something unforeseen happen with your health. And usually you want those documents to reflect that the same person who you've entrusted with your financial power of attorney is also going to be assisting with healthcare power of attorneys. But we can talk you through those different scenarios and situations. Why is this important? Because all these documents help protect your assets and help to continue the recovery process if you should die or become incapacitated during that process, because recovery does take more than several years sometimes. It also helps to ensure that your wishes are carried out should something happen to you, and provides a seamless transition between you and your heirs or the people who are going to inherit your property. So we encourage you, especially if you are a hurricane survivor of Hurricane Florence, to give us a call and see what we can do to help you in this regard. And applications for Rebuild NC for recovery from Hurricane Florence are scheduled right now, I believe, to open on June 18th. So we encourage you all to get in touch with us before those applications open and let us help you plan for some of these needs you may have while you're going through that process. And that is my presentation today. As I said, it's short and sweet. So I thank you all for your time. I hope that you will give us a call if you need assistance with preparing any of the documents that I mentioned, or just want some more advice about how estate planning and making a plan for your property can help you in the recovery process. Thank you.